Philadelphia, 1880. The city that invented the future, but smelled like hell. Imagine standing on a street corner where the air doesn't just carry the scent of the sea, but the heavy metallic tang of coal smoke and the rhythmic thrum of a world being reborn. Can you hear the frantic clatter of iron-rimmed wheels and cobblestone, or the distant whistle of a steam engine pulling the weight of a continent? What does it feel like to stand in the richest, most industrious city in America, at the very moment the old world finally surrenders to the new? Today, we are stepping back into Philadelphia in the 1880s. Through the lens of old maps, archival photographs, and the meticulous records of the Centennial era, AI has reconstructed the workshop of the world in its prime. This is not the quiet colonial town of Benjamin Franklin, but a thundering soot-stained metropolis of nearly 1 million souls. I am your guide, and together we are going to walk through a city that is currently inventing the future. To understand Philadelphia in 1880, you have to visualize it as a massive grid ironed out between two rivers, the deep commercial Delaware to the east and the winding scenic Schuylkill to the west. While the city was founded on the Delaware docks, by the 1880s the center of gravity is shifting. The city is bursting out of its 18th century skin, fueled by the massive wealth of the Pennsylvania Railroad and the coal mines to the north. Our walk today will take us from the shadow of the world's tallest masonry structure at City Hall, down the bustling corridor of Market Street, through the squalor and splendor of the riverfront, and finally out to the lush, sprawling grounds of Fairmount Park. We begin our journey in the literal and figurative heart of the city, Penn Square. The first thing you notice is the noise, a deafening symphony of chisels hitting marble. Looming over us is the unfinished shell of Philadelphia City Hall. It is a mountain of white granite and marble, a sprawling Second Empire masterpiece that has been under construction for 9 years already, and won't be finished for another 20. The air here is thick with stone dust that coats your clothes in a fine white powder. You can see hundreds of stonemasons perched on scaffolding, looking like ants against the massive clock tower that is slowly rising to meet the clouds. This building is more than just a seat of government, it is a statement of ego. Philadelphia is currently the largest city and land area in the world, and it wants a building to match. As we dodge a horse-drawn wagon carrying a massive marble slab, you might spot a well-dressed clerk in a tall silk hat arguing with a foreman over a blueprint. This site is the crossroads of the city's political machine, where fortunes are made. In city contracts and whispered deals in a century, this dusty construction site will be the finished landmark we know today, but the soot of the industrial age will have turned this white marble almost entirely black, before it is eventually cleaned for the modern era. Walking east, away from the dust of Penn Square, we enter the chaos of Market Street. The sun struggles to pierce through a forest of overhead wires, telegraph lines, and the brand new electrical cables that are beginning to web the sky. The ground beneath our feet is a treacherous mix of Belgian blocks, mud, and horse manure. The smell is a pungent cocktail of animal waste, roasting coffee from nearby warehouses, and the sharp sulfur of coal fires. You have to keep your eyes sharp. The street is a lawless tangle of omnibuses, private carriages, and heavy freight carts, all competing for inches of space. Market Street is the city's commercial spine. To your left and right, the great department stores are rising, massive palaces of consumption like Wanamaker's, which occupies an old freight depot. Inside, the 1880s shopper is experiencing a revolution. Fixed prices, electric lights, and pneumatic tubes whisking cash to central counting rooms. You see a middle-class woman in a restrictive corset and a bustled silk dress stepping out of a carriage, her gloved hand clutching a parasol, while just feet away, a ragged newsie shouts the headlines of the Philadelphia Inquirer about the latest railroad strike. This vibrant, messy merchant row will eventually be sanitized into the retail district of the 20th century. But for now, it is the raw, beating heart of American capitalism. We turn south now, cutting through the narrow, dark alleys of the 7th Ward. The transition is jarring. The grand marble facades disappear, replaced by cramped, red brick row houses that seem to lean against one another for support. The air grows stagnant here. The honey dippers or waste collectors haven't been by in weeks, and the open gutters run with gray washwater. This is one of the oldest African-American neighborhoods in the country, a place of immense struggle and profound community. You see a laundress hanging white linens across a narrow courtyard, the steam from her wash basin rising into the damp afternoon air. In these shadows, life is lived on the stoops. You hear the rhythmic thump of a cobbler's hammer, and the chatter of children playing with hoops in the dirt. These streets are the focus of social reformers like W.E.B. Du Bois, who will soon document the systemic challenges faced by the residents here. It is a neighborhood of Trinity houses, one room per floor, stacked 3 high. Many of these humble brick shells will survive into the 21st century, becoming highly coveted historic real estate. But today they are the front lines of a city struggling to house its working poor amidst an industrial boom. As we continue east, the ground begins to slope down toward the Delaware River, and the character of the city shifts again. We are entering the old city, the neighborhood of the founders. Here, the 1880s feels like an intrusion upon the 1770s. We pass Independence Hall, its red brick looking modest, compared to the gargantuan City Hall we saw earlier. In 1880, the State House is already a shrine, but it's surrounded by the grime of a working port. The cracks in the Liberty Bell are already a point of fascination for the tourists who come here in their stiff collars and wool suits to touch the relic of a revolution that feels increasingly distant. This is the banking district, the Wall Street of Philadelphia. The buildings here are heavy, neoclassical temples of finance made of dark stone. You see messengers in caps, sprinting between the Merchants' Exchange and the banks, carrying banknotes and stock tips. The men here move with a different kind of urgency, the quiet, cold urgency of capital. This area will remain the historic core of the city, protected by future generations. But in the 1880s, there is no national park here. It is a functioning, soot-covered neighborhood, where history is simply the backdrop for the day's ledger entries. Finally, we reach the waterfront at Delaware Avenue. The view is blocked by a literal wall of masts and steam funnels. This is a forest of timber and iron. The noise is a cacophony of shouting stevedores, hissing steam winches, and the low lowing of cattle being loaded onto ships bound for Europe. The smell of the river is overwhelming. A thick, greasy sludge of sewage, salt water, and factory waste. Huge wooden docks creak, weighed down by Pennsylvania coal, engines, and fabrics. Philly's the port powering the globe. You see it in countless crates marked for distant ports. Amidst the dockside rush, an immigrant family just arrived, looking lost. They carry all they own in wooden chests and cloth sacks, gazing at a city promising freedom and hard work. The waterfront, a zone of change and toughness. In the coming years, these giant wooden piers will decay or be replaced with concrete. And later, the massive Interstate 95 will carve through here, cutting the city off from its river. But right now, the river is the sole reason this city exists. To escape the dockside heat and stink, we hop on a horse-drawn streetcar heading northwest to Fairmount Park. As we leave the river, the air freshens, and the dull city turns into vibrant, planned greenery. We reach the Fairmount Waterworks, a stunning 19th century structure resembling a Greek temple by the Schuylkill River. The sound of water cascading over the dam is a welcome break from Market Street's roar. This park hosted the huge Centennial Exposition just 4 years ago, in 1876. Many of the enormous glass and iron buildings still stand, eerie reminders of the World's Fair that introduced phones and typewriters. You see families enjoying picnics on the lawn, women with wide hats looking up as they watch rowers, the Schuylkill Navy racing through the water in long wooden boats. This is the city's breath of fresh air. It's Philadelphia's greatest treasure, a park system built to safeguard the city's drinking water, from the very factories making the city prosperous. Much of what you see here, the waterworks, the curving paths, the boat clubs, will look surprisingly similar in the 21st century, preserved as a tribute to Victorian civic pride. Now let the 1880s fade. The horse-drawn carts disappear, replaced by the buzz of electric vehicles. The tangle of telegraph wires goes underground. The coal smog clears, revealing the gleaming white marble of the completed City Hall. When we look at Philadelphia today, the echoes of the 1880s are everywhere, if you know where to look. The vast street grid we walked still guides traffic. The red brick houses of the 7th Ward are now upscale residences in Society Hill and Queen Village. The grand department stores like Wanamaker's remain, though their insides have new names and functions. Independence Hall has been cleaned of industrial grime, standing in a landscaped park that an 1880s person wouldn't recognize. Yet, the spirit of industry lives on in the city's core, in the solid buildings, the expansive park system, and the unyielding, tough spirit of its people. Philadelphia in the 1880s was a city of stark differences, immense riches and crushing poverty, spotless parks and polluted rivers, ancient history and unbelievably rapid advancements. It was a city that dared to build the biggest, the fastest, and the loudest. Thanks for taking this journey through time with me.